Have you ever said yes to something and then later realized it didn't feel right, but you felt guilty for backing out or trying to change your mind? Like you owed it to the other person to keep your commitment, even if it cost you sleep or your peace? Yeah, me too. It actually happened to me this week, and that's what compelled me to create this video. If you've always been the reliable, accommodating one, the one that always makes things work, it can feel really wrong to shift gears. But what if the problem isn't that you changed your mind? What if the problem is that you were never allowed to honor or trust your instincts to begin with? People pleasers can attract pushy people. And what happens many times is the pressure from manipulative or pushy people makes people pleasers cave. And then we blame ourselves instead of recognizing what actually happened. People pleasers think that they can't change their mind. I have lived this. I lived it for 55 years. And here are some reasons that we think it's wrong or bad to change our mind. Maybe you think being nice means you have to be consistent. Maybe you don't want to upset or disappoint anyone. You think changing your mind makes you flaky or unreliable. You've been trained to avoid conflict at all costs, which means that you can't change your mind. Or maybe you fear being judged or talked about behind your back. So instead of changing your mind, you change yourself. You accommodate the other person. You contort, you morph yourself. And then later you feel guilty and resentful, and you beat yourself up for feeling that way. Can you relate to this? I would love for you to comment and let me know. And here's what makes it even harder. When someone pushes back, when they ask why, or they guilt trip you, or they act like you're doing something wrong when you change your mind, your people-pleasing brain kicks into overdrive. Here are some examples of what it sounds like when someone is pushing back or guilt tripping you. Maybe they act confused and say, "But you were fine with it originally." Or they guilt trip you, "I took off work for this." Maybe they act like you're unreliable or being unfair. Or they act like you're the problem, that this is a you thing. But these examples are actually gaslighting. They are saying or doing these things to make you doubt yourself. That is gaslighting in its simplest form. You start to doubt that you maybe are the problem, or that you misinterpreted what happened, or that you are wrong for thinking what you're thinking, or for changing your mind. And so what do we end up doing a lot of times? We jade. We justify, we argue, we defend, we explain. Here's the thing. We're trying, by jading, we're trying to make it make sense to someone who's not interested in having it make sense. They're not interested in having a relationship. They're interested in being right. And let this land. That's not communication. That's control. And here's the part that we don't talk about enough. When we override ourselves, when we override our instinct, our intuition, when we don't trust our gut. When you go against your gut, against your instincts to make someone else comfortable, to keep the peace, that feeling doesn't go away. It turns into frustration, resentment, even burnout, disease. It forms dis-ease in the body, in your nervous system. And we leave these conversations thinking that we misunderstood, or that we're not being accommodating enough, or we're too rigid or too sensitive. But that's not the truth. I didn't do anything wrong by changing my mind. When you change your mind, you're not doing anything wrong. You're actually doing something right. You're trusting your gut. You're trusting your instincts. You're trusting yourself to have your own back. And that can be uncomfortable because we weren't taught to do that. And so we're not used to it yet. In my last video, I talked about a new standard that I have: authenticity over approval. And I'm giving you a new standard today: boundaries over approval. Changing your mind when you realize that something's not right is not flakiness. It's not mean. It's not anything that we've been taught that it is. It's actually self-respect. It's self-integrity. And it's growth. It's something that we're not used to doing. You aren't responsible for how someone reacts or how they feel about a boundary, about you changing your mind, which is what that is. It's a boundary that you're setting by changing your mind and speaking that change. So you aren't responsible for someone's reaction to that. What you are responsible for is honoring how you feel and what feels right and true to you. And if that means changing your mind, then honoring that. There's a saying that I love, that you don't have to light yourself on fire to keep everyone else warm. And you don't have to twist yourself into knots to keep other people comfortable. If this hit home, you're not alone. Like I said, I went through this earlier this week, and it was rough because I got a lot of pushback from the person that I changed my mind with. But I didn't jade, I didn't justify, I didn't argue, I didn't defend, I didn't explain. I just said, the reason I'm doing this is because I changed my mind. And this is how people pleasers begin to break free, by recognizing that you don't need permission to change your mind. You just need to practice doing it. Let me know in the comments if you've ever changed your mind and felt guilty, and what you would say now to that old version of you that you wished didn't say yes in the first place. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.